Christopher Small here from Emerald City Law Group, and today I've got something exciting to share with all of you. My partner, Stryder Wegener, and I had the opportunity to go on the air with Jackie and Bender of KISS 106.1 FM on their Ask Us segment to get peppered with questions from their audience. I didn't want to leave you out of the mix, so I thought I'd share it with you. Oh, and before we get to it, I want to encourage you to listen through to the end. We're giving away a special prize you won't want to miss out on. Here we go.
So we now switch gears from giving you crap to defending you from it. Hey, you see what I did there? Today's ASCA is a criminal defense attorney. And we have in studio Stryder. Is that I'm pronouncing it right?
That's me.
It's Stryder, Wegener.
Correct.
And Chris Small. Both here in studio. And you guys are from which law firm?
Emerald City Law Group. The Emerald City Law Group.
There you go. Website, anything you want to pimp while we're doing it right now?
Chris?
EmeraldCityLawGroup.com.
All right. So really at 421-1061 or 1-888-343-1061, text anything into 41061. Do you have a question that you've always wanted to ask a criminal defense attorney? My question right out of the gate would be the morality of it. So you guys, this is what you've chosen to do. This is your gig. Did you know that you were going to be a defense attorney when you went to law school, or was it the best gig, the easiest cash, the whatever, however you look at it, as opposed to being a prosecutor, that this was going to be what you were going to do?
Right. For me, I didn't know right out of the gates that I was going to be a criminal defense attorney. I knew I was going to be a lawyer. Did a couple different things. Everything else is boring, basically. And, you know, the other cool thing about being a criminal defense attorney is you get to help real people get out of real trouble. You know, and that's what I really like about it. Some people are for the Constitution. I like to help people. You know, I like to get people out of trouble. And I think most people are good people, and that's why I like it.
So when you say most people are for the Constitution, so that's your stance?
So a lot of criminal defense attorneys, you know, they say, I got into this because I want to, you know, uphold the Constitution. But the way I see my job is my specific client, my job is to get them out of trouble. You know, it's not for the greater good for me necessarily. I like being the hired gun, for lack of a better term. You know, you hire me, my job is to get you out of trouble. That's what I do.
Looking for loopholes.
Yeah, loopholes. That's where the constitutional issues come in, right? That's where the greater good comes in, and I use the greater good, but I don't ever sacrifice this specific client for the greater good.
All right. Stryder?
Chris is a much better person than me. I did this because I'm a bad person and I want to defend bad people.
Yes.
No, that's not the truth at all. When I first went to law school, it was really just a way to hide out from the real world for 3 more years. Getting out of school, though, I started out in court. Didn't know that I wanted to be a criminal defense attorney, but once I found myself in court every day doing what I used to do, family law stuff, representing victims of domestic violence, I knew that I loved the courtroom, and I knew that's where I wanted to be, and that's what I get to do every day. It's fun. As Chris said, it's a lot of fun.
Were you guys ever on the other side? Do you know?
Neither one of us know. A lot of people do that, though. They start out as prosecutors, and it's very commendable. They learn that other side of the law, and it really helps them when they come do this side of it. But I've never done that, and Chris has never done that. We've both just been criminal defense.
So when I bring up the morality clause earlier, as far as, because people look at that and go, but you could be defending somebody who is so insanely guilty that everyone knows. Now, granted, it's the evidence is what the jury believes and everything else. And you're defending somebody that did something perhaps so freaking heinous, but your job is to get them off regardless of your personal feelings of it, or what?
Right. The age-old question, and this is just saying what you're saying in a different way, is how do you defend somebody you know is guilty? The answer to that is a lot along the lines of what Chris said. I'm in law enforcement. I don't enforce the DUI laws. I don't enforce the little laws. I don't enforce the state laws. I'm not a prosecutor. I'm not a policeman. I'm not a trooper. I enforce the big laws, the Constitution, the state Constitution. Make sure that slippery slope is not crossed. As soon as people's rights are impinged on, search and seizure, anything along those lines, that's our job to maintain that morality and make sure that people's rights are upheld. There's some cases that I don't know if I would take. There's some gruesome ones that I really don't know if I would be able to handle. I have a daughter, and I have to ask myself those questions. But most of them, I'm happy to do, and I feel like I feel that is our duty as criminal defense attorneys. There's got to be somebody who's going to do it. If they can impinge on, if the investigation and the criminal justice process can impinge on a person's rights that I'm defending, they can do it to my family, they can do it to my friends, they can do it to my daughter someday. So it's my job to maintain that line.
Again, we have Stryder, Wegener, and Chris Small here in studio. Today's ASCA is a criminal defense attorney.
I was almost a lawyer. Did you guys know that?
Did not.
I did not know that.
I took pre-law courses, and my first internship ever was at a law firm, and I was like a paralegal.
I so did not know that.
It's a lot more depth to me than you know about.
How long did that last?
Not very long. It was really, really hard.
Wow. Hey, Carol, what do you got?
Yeah, I just wondered what they thought of the Amanda Knox trial, and did they, what their thoughts of it is.
This is Stryder. My initial thought is don't go back.
That's what I was thinking.
I followed it not as closely as I would have liked to. I'm currently reading the book now, so I'm learning a lot more about it. But my initial thought is, that's a whole different set. It's a whole different legal justice system that I'm not familiar with here, and most attorneys aren't familiar with here. I just think it's incredibly scary that she was there that long. And now that she's back, I don't think there's any way that they're going to try and extradite her back, and I don't think the United States would give her back. So the only way she's going back is if she goes back on vacation.
Well, the thing is, I saw on the news the other day, and it said a little bit more in depth of what happened that night. And, I have a feeling she knew something, the way they talked.
Well, here's the thing about what you hear in the news. It's always a little snippet of the whole truth. It's always typically shaded one way or the other, because what sells in news isn't the boring facts.
Well, that's all we report.
Right, exactly.
Headline, boom,
You want people to take a side, So if you can pull a quote out here, if you can pull out an interesting fact and context here, then that's what you're going to hear out there. And that's why it's so hard to even talk about what happened in her case, right? Because unless we were there, unless we heard all the facts, unless we heard all the testimony, it's really impossible to make a real decision about what happened, because you don't have an opportunity to see what the witnesses look like, and hear the whole evidence. So it's tough. It's tough to know exactly what happened on that night.
421-1061 or 1-888-343-1061. Today's ASCA is criminal defense attorney. Two of them here in studio, Stryder, Wegener, and Chris Small. And I guess my next question would be, have you ever defended somebody that you knew was guilty, you got them off, and then they committed the crime again?
All my clients are innocent.
Okay, that sounds like a movie. That sounds like a movie line out of a movie. Everybody. It's like in Shawshank. Everybody in here is innocent. Didn't you know that?
I have had clients get in trouble again. Yes, that have gotten out of trouble before. But that's what people do, right? People get in trouble. Some people get caught. Some people don't.
But then that reflects poorly on you. You would think, from the image standpoint of, you got the guy off knowing he was guilty.
I think it reflects good on us, right? Our job is to help the person that walks in our office. Our job is to help them in that specific situation.
Okay.
I agree with Chris.
That's what we do. So if you walked into our office right now, I always tell people, you know what? I don't care what you did. I'm not here to judge you. My job is to help you get out of trouble, or in many cases, minimize the damage.
When was the last time you had somebody walk in, you heard the entire case, you heard all the evidence, you got everything there, realizing that there are no loopholes, that there's no all the T's were crossed, the I's were dotted, the police did their job, everything's there? How do you then defend them, or do you say, dude, you don't have a case?
That's where you go into damage minimization mode. It's what kind of deal can we get for you? We want to try to keep you out of jail in some cases. We want to try to limit the jail. It depends on what kind of case it is, DUIs, we want to try to save your driver's license. We want to try to, do the things that are a priority for you in your life moving forward.
It really depends on what that person has going on in their life and what their needs are. Some people can take a conviction and still be okay with it, depending on the kind of convictions. For instance, a person who has a commercial driver's license, they get arrested for a DUI. If they lose that license, there goes their career. Other people, they just rather not go to jail. So you work around it, you work with the prosecutor, and you come up with something that works for everybody, whether it's alternatives to jail time or fines or treatment. That's where you start, and that's kind of your focus if you really don't see a glaring loophole.
You ever been confronted by a family member of somebody that was hurt?
Definitely.
That you got the perpetrator off?
Not after the person, the defendant was, not after the case was resolved, but during the case, definitely gone to court and been confronted by family members while the case is still pending.
And there's no spin on that. There's no, I mean, what do you say to them? I have a job to do, just like, you have your job to do. I mean, what do you say?
I'll give you an example. This was about 6 months ago. I was representing a guy who was charged with assault in the second degree. It was a pretty nasty assault in the second degree. We ended up getting him a pretty good deal where he was going to do a little bit of jail time compared to the 15 or 20 years that he was looking at when he was originally charged with it. Everybody was fine with it. The family was fine with it. The other family was not fine with it. They wanted him to go to jail as long as possible. So the day of the sentencing, the courtroom was packed. I mean, literally 200 people were there. The first thing I did is walked up to the other family, shook their hands, and said, "I'm sorry, nobody wants to be here today," and spoke to them. I think that meant a lot coming from the other side because we look like the enemy in their eyes, and that's natural. We look like the bad guy who's defending the bad guy. But they're just people. I think they realize that we're just people, and that's how I try and handle it. One of the first things I did in that sentencing, rather than just speaking to the judge and saying, "Here's all the good things about my guy," I turn to the family and I tell them, "I'm very sorry. Everybody's sorry. Nobody's winning here today." And that's the way I go about it. I don't think of them as the enemy, and I hope they don't think of me as the enemy. Sometimes you can't help it.
Chris, same thing?
I've actually never had that happen to me before. I've certainly had prosecutors that were not excited about the way that the results turned out and have let me know about that.
You must have been called every name in the book.
A lot of times they don't tell. They just say it probably back in the office. It's not as confrontational as you think in the civil side. That can get really confrontational between attorneys. But what we do is really heavily negotiation based, where you get on the phone, your email, the prosecutors that you're working with every day, and if you don't maintain a good relationship with them, that can have real problems for your clients presently and in the future.
How much of Law and Order is crap?
About 95% of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you find that it gives people a sense of they know enough to get them in trouble, basically? Like they think from watching NCIS or CSI or Law and Order that they know how this works and they know they can get out of it, and then they come to you, you're like, I thought I covered all my bases.
I just think it gives people a false sense of security, and it also gives them false expectations for what are going to happen. If we go to trial, let's say we're going to trial on DUI or something, I always tell them, look, we're going to go in there and this is going to be sort of like Law and Order, except it's going to be a lot more boring, and it's not going to be exciting at all.
And it doesn't happen that quickly.
Right.
You mean it doesn't happen in 44 minutes?
Right.
No, not at all.
Huh.
Right. And they always want, people sometimes once you get up there and do fire and brimstone and point at the prosecutor and yell at them and stuff like that, we're not allowed to do that by the rules that we kind of work with in a court, so you don't see as much of that.
And why would you?
Right.
We're all colleagues. We have to work with these people. Right. They have to work with us.
When you watch a high profile case like the Casey Anthony trial,
mm-hmm.
and you're watching someone in your shoes, only higher profile like Baez.
Why is he higher profile?
Well, because it was a higher profile story. I mean, when was the last time you did a worldwide story?
That's true. That's
true. If you're watching him, do you see what he's doing and where he's going? Do you see the criminal defense attorney techniques that you guys have in your handbook?
I definitely watch those guys. There's certain ones that I admire, and I watch them for the techniques, not necessarily what the facts are of the case, because the
facts are irrelevant.
Right. You see how much they have to get out from an individual witness even to get to the point where they're trying to make their point. If you're not watching that trial all day from beginning to end, you know how long those things lasted. I mean, they were going to 10 o'clock at night. Then you're not going to really be able to glean anything. But for technique and style, I definitely try and watch anybody else and take not everything that they use, but take things that I think would work for my style. Everybody has to have a different style of lawyering.
Again, we've got Stryder, Wegener, and Chris Small in here from the Emerald City Law Group. It's Emerald City
Lawgroup.com.
We've got everybody is on the phone, wants to talk. John, go ahead.
Hey, I had a question. I had read online, which I realized is why I want to call in and check it, that Washington State has a mutual consent law, I think they called it, which after I read into it a little bit, it said that if two people agreed to fight in public, they couldn't be arrested, and that the law enforcement officers could only act as a referee. And so I'm questioning the validity of it, and if it is real, do you happen to know where it came from?
Did you hear the whispering between them? I got this one. Go.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer your questions. First, I don't know where it came from. But at the end of the day, what will usually happen is if you're fighting and the cops show up, you're going to get arrested and you're going to have to figure it out later. So I guess if you're going to fight, go do it in your house or something. Don't do it in the street.
Is it usually that, because they're probably fighting because they're drunk, so they aren't getting charged with the fighting, but they're getting public intoxication charges?
You would get charged with, you would get charged with the fighting. The way they do it is they arrest everybody, they charge you with everything, and they let you figure it out later.
They let you figure it out in court. Right. That mutual consent term that you were talking about would be a defense, but you'd still be charged with it, and you'd have to figure all that out later.
And at the end of the day, the other important thing is that the people that are involved in the incident typically are not in control of what's charged, what moves forward, and what doesn't move forward in the criminal justice system. It's the prosecutor's decision on what gets prosecuted and what gets taken to trial. For example, in some cases, the victims do have input, like Stryder was talking about, but at the end of the day, it's the prosecutor's choice about what happens with any specific case.
Is Stryder your real name?
Yes, sir.
Huh.
My brother and sister were reading the Lord of the Rings when my mom was pregnant.
Yes! Oh my God, I thought that's where it came from. That's kick-ass.
And you know
No
what?
way.
One of my best friends' name is Anthony. He hates it when people ask me that. So he actually had a T-shirt made up with a little arrow, and we'd be walking down the street, and I'd actually say, yes, that's his real name.
Really? Yeah. Huh. All right. John, thanks for calling.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, dude. Yeah, as always, when we do these Ask-A-Bits, the time just flies by, and then we run out of time before we can really dive into other stuff. So we'd love to have you guys back.
Anytime.
At some other time.
Sure.
But again, the Emerald City Law Group, it's Stryder Wegener, that's his real name, and Chris Small, that's his real name too. Thank you guys very much for both coming in and answering all the questions.
Real quick before we go, we wanted to give a prize or give a thank you for all the listeners today. If you go to emeraldcitylawgroup.com/radio, we're going to be doing a drawing Christmas Day. We're going to give away a couple Seahawks tickets.
Get out!
Damn!
I totally thought you were going to give away some sort of, we will defend whatever happens in 2014.
An ounce and below of weed, we will handle it.
Well, we're gonna. All right, we want everybody to come and know about us, even if you're not in trouble. So, emeraldcitylawgroup.com/radio.
Even if you're not in trouble. emeraldcitylawgroup.com.
They have better prizes than us.
Yeah, I know. emeraldcitylawgroup.com/radio.
Can I give one piece of advice?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Just one. This is the most important thing, and I was hoping somebody would ask me this, but nobody did. If you get approached by a police officer, if you get approached by anybody who wants to ask you any questions about something that you may or may not have done, don't try and explain your way out of it. All you do is you say very kindly to that person, I've spoken to my attorney. His name is Stryder Wegener, Chris Small.
And Stryder, yes, that's his real name.
Yeah.
And he said that I'm not allowed to speak to you. You have to talk to them. People always think that they can explain the way out of trouble, like, law and order, like we were talking about earlier. If you have a chance, go to YouTube and look at a video called "Don't Talk to the Police." It'll blow your mind. You guys should check it out too.
We'll post that at JackieandBenner.com.
That's the best piece of free criminal defense legal advice I could give anybody.
Don't say anything.
Yeah, no,
Ask for your lawyer.
Specifically what I said, but you want to put the onus on us, not, hey, I have a lawyer, so I'm not going to talk to you. Hey, I've spoken to my lawyer, and he said I'm not allowed to speak to anybody without him present. Here's his name.
Nice.
How about that? That should be on the back of the T-shirt that says, yes, that's his real name, and on the back it says, don't say anything. Thank you guys both for coming in. I appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed that. I know we did. Remember, if you want to participate in the contest to win 2 Seahawks tickets and time hasn't run out yet, go to emeraldcitylawgroup.com/radio and sign up. And if you ever need help with personal injury, criminal defense, or traffic defense, call us at 206-651-4245 for help. Until next time, bye-bye.